Hello everyone, my name is Annalisa M. Abrahan. For this activity, I chose the Rohingya atrocities in Myanmar as a major human rights violation case. I will explain this case using two CSJ tools. The first one is the timeline tool and the other one is the onion model. But first, let me introduce the key parties. This involves the Rohingya, a distinct minority Muslim group who have been living in the northern part of Rakhine State along the border with Bangladesh for generations. The second parties are the Myanmar military supported by the government who have carried out systematic discrimination and violence against them. Using the timeline tool, we can see how the violations developed and escalated over time. It started in 1982 when the citizenship law stripped most Rohingya of their citizenship. This created deep structural discrimination and statelessness, denying them basic rights like freedom of movement, education, and legal protection. This set the foundation for decades of marginalization. Then tension rose again in 2012 with communal violence between Rohingya and Rakhine Buddhists. This led to the internal displacement of tens of thousands and further segregation in camps. The situation became catastrophic in 2016 and 2017 after attacks by the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army or ARSA on security posts. The Myanmar military launched large-scale clearance operations. These resulted in mass killings, systematic rape, arson of entire villages, and the forced displacement of over 740,000 Rohingya to Bangladesh. These acts have been widely documented as crimes against humanity. Then again in 2019, the small West African nation of the Gambia filed a genocide case against Myanmar at the International Court of Justice. The Gambia acted under the Genocide Convention to seek accountability on behalf of the international community. Then in 2020, the ICJ ordered provisional measures. These measures required Myanmar to prevent genocidal acts, preserve evidence, and report compliance. This highlighted the ongoing risk to Rohingya. The 2021 military coup intensified repression nationwide. Reports from Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International document new abuses by both sides. These include forced recruitment, arbitrary detention, movement restrictions, forced labor, and violence. This shows how the conflict has become multi-party and trapped civilians even further. So in 2026, the ICJ merits hearings concluded from January 12 to 29. These hearings included historic survivors, testimonies from Rohingya witnesses. This was the first time their voices were directly heard at the court, and the final judgment remains pending as deliberations continue. This timeline shows that the 2017 atrocities were not a sudden or isolated event. They were the result of long-standing structural discrimination that kept escalating into direct violence. Recent developments have added layers of complexity from multiple armed actors. Now the next tool that I've used is the onion model to peel back the layers of the conflict. So at the outer layer are the positions, what each side publicly says. The government and military claim they are fighting terrorism and securing borders, while the Rohingya demand safety and citizenship. In the middle layer are the interest, what they really want to achieve. The military seeks to maintain power and territorial control, while the Rohingya seek protection and livelihoods. At the deepest core layer are the needs, or what they must have. The fundamental human needs that drive both sides. For the Rohingya, these needs are security from violence and persecution, recognition of their identity as a people, dignity as equal human beings, and the ability to survive and rebuild their lives. For the Myanmar military and government side, the needs are national security and stability, preservation of their Buddhist majority identity and national unity, and the survival of the state system they control. These needs are universal because everyone requires them to live without fear and with purpose. Excuse me. For the Rohingya, security means escaping daily violence and persecution. Identity means being recognized as a legitimate people instead of erased. Dignity means being treated as equal humans, not dehumanized. And survival means having the basics such as food, shelter, and livelihoods to rebuild their lives. For the military and government side, security means protecting the nation from what they see as threats like separatism or instability. Identity means preserving their vision of a unified Buddhist majority Myanmar. Dignity means maintaining respect and authority as rulers. And survival means keeping the state system and control intact so they can continue to exist as the dominant power. However, because of the extreme power imbalance and deep mistrust between the two sides, the needs of the Rohingya have been systematically denied. While the military has used its power to pursue its own goals, the onion model helps us see that although positions and interests clash strongly, there are shared human needs at the core: security, identity, dignity, and survival. In conflict-sensitive journalism, this encourages us to look beyond the surface conflict and consider how addressing these core needs could open path toward justice and long-term resolution. The timeline tool shows the long-term escalation, while the onion model reveals the deeper layers and the importance of shared human needs. Accountability, justice, and meaningful reforms are essential to break this cycle.
হাইটে মাঝে মায়া হন্ডে রেপ গুজে বুড়ে গুজে জ্বালানি আর জানার লালসি বাংলাদেশ স্থানীয় লইতে আসছি দি তোরা রোহিঙ্গা না তোরা বাঙালি হয়ে বাংলাদেশে দৌগো তোরা দেশিত কেন এন হয়ে আরে দূরা গুলি গুজে মাঝে হাইটে তোমার মানছে কিছু মানুষ মরিয়ে কিছু মানুষ বাজি তাই কি আর কিছু মানুষ একুলে আই ভাজি আরা বাহর দিন না মিরাজ হয়ে রোহিঙ্গা.
These perspectives reflect the broader reality of the conflict, where actions taken in the name of security intersect with the everyday lives of communities. They point to a situation shaped not only by immediate events, but by long-standing tensions, policies, and decisions that continue to affect people on the ground. Understanding this context allows us to see that the conflict is complex and cannot be reduced to a single narrative. At the same time, these perspectives highlight the human consequences of these dynamics: displacement, uncertainty, and the struggle to maintain safety and dignity. They remind us that beyond political narratives and institutional actions, there are individuals and families whose lives are deeply impacted. This conflict calls for justice for all victims and for those responsible to be held accountable. Ang mga may sala ay mapanagot. Presenting these perspectives together allows us for a more balanced and responsible understanding. Rather than focusing on only one side, it encourages us to consider both the intentions behind actions and their outcomes. Ultimately, this is not just a conflict to be observed, but a responsibility to pursue truth, uphold human rights, and ensure accountability with fairness and integrity.